As we all probably know, the early Crash Bandicoot games was a major success. Money went in, and copies came out, and we were presented by a lovable character and some awesome gameplay as well. It feels like everything is right with the world, and absolutely nothing can ruin this moment. Well, that was until the contract with Universal Interactive Studios expired with Naughty Dog, and Naughty Dog lost the rights to develop Crash Bandicoot games. You see, while Naughty Dog were the ones that made the Crash Bandicoot games, but Universal Interactive Studios owns the Crash Bandicoot character and the gaming license back then. But at the end of the day, it's probably a good thing that Naughty Dog is no longer making games about Crash Bandicoot, so they can now focus on other future productions. So with the two parties now officially parting ways, Naughty Dog signed a deal with Sony Interactive Entertainment in 2001 and has been with them ever since. The PlayStation 2 console had just came out and it was time for Naughty Dog to create something different. While Insomniac Studios was working on Ratchet & Clank and Sucker Punch Productions was working on Sly Cooper, and while Enter the Dragonfly and The Wrath of Cortex kinda existed as well, Naughty Dog went on to work on and create Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. I have only played Jak 3 as a kid growing up, so I never had the opportunity to experience the first game back in the day. So this will obviously be an unnostalgic look about this game, and also the gameplay footage will be taken from the PlayStation 3 collection just because it looks more cleaner than the PlayStation 2 version. I could use the PlayStation 4 version, but I've heard that port is pretty buggy. But that was ages ago and I'm not sure how it is now, but since I've got a PS3 copy in hand, I might as well use that. So with that said, let's begin. We're set in a fantasy world with a very small quantity of technology. We learn about Eco, which is an energy source that was made by the Precursors, an ancient race who created life in this universe. We will learn more about the Precursors throughout the trilogy. Our story starts with two characters, Jak and Daxter, making their way to Misty Island despite the warning of Samos, who is the sage of Green Eco. Once they stepped foot on the island, they spotted two mysterious figures that tells the lurkers, our enemy type for this game, to gather as much Eco and Precursor artifacts as they can. Jak and Daxter was about to leave the place until they were spotted by a lurker. Jak uses an explosive bomb to stop the lurker, but he gets knocked back, hitting Daxter as he falls down below to a pool filled with dark Eco. He gets out of the dark Eco but realizes that he's now changed to an Ottsel, a mixture of an otter and a weasel. Now this would be the part where I show off Daxter screaming his head off like most people have already done, but unfortunately my Elgato seems to have no audio in his playthrough, so my fault on that. And I guess I could use subtitles instead? Yeah, that'll do. They return to their home in Sandover Village and Daxter tries to seek help from Samos, but however, only Gol Aknaron is the only person that can change Daxter back. But he lives far to the north and Samos could use the teleportation to get there, but no other sages have turned their ends on, which does sound strange. The only way to get there is to go through a section of lava, and here we see Kira, Samos' daughter, with the idea to use a zoomer to fly over the lava. But in order to do that, she needs enough power cells to power up the zoomer. And with that said, your story is now set into motion. You go on a huge adventure, making your way to the far section of the north, trying to change Daxter back to his original self. The story is pretty simple to follow, not too hard to understand or too complicated to follow. It is just a basic story with a good reason to go on a journey. Now comparing that story to Crash Bandicoot's, this is clearly going to be a completely different narrative. The graphics are definitely nice for its time. Like I said, I am playing this version on the PlayStation 3 edition, and while it does look more crisper and cleaner on the PS3, the PS2 version still has its moments. The gameplay is pretty much your usual 3D platformer with some slight twists to set it apart from Crash Bandicoot. First off, this game is a massive open world. No choosing what level to warp into, as you can just simply walk around minding your own business and all of a sudden, you're already in a different level with a number of objectives to complete. And not to mention that there's absolutely no loading screens whatsoever. Even when you die, the game loads up fairly quickly. It sounds really groundbreaking, and for the fact that this game was released in 2001 is just amazing to think about. And depending on how long you stay in a level, the sky changes from day to night. A small detail, but also brings out a huge compliment to the game as a whole. Jak has your standard moveset. He can use a spin attack, jump, double jump, punch, a long roll jump, a high jump, his best impression of "Sure You Can" from Street Fighter, and you can spin while double jumping. I also love it when Jak yells out "Cha" while spin jumping. There are no unlockable moves to obtain, as everything is already there for you, ready to be put into use. You have your health bar, and it only takes 3 to 4 hits before you'll get knocked to the ground and have to start again. Thank God you don't have to start all the way back to the beginning though. In order to regain some of your health, you have to collect 50 small green ecos or 1 big eco to restore your hit point. It can be a bit of a grind to re-establish your health meter back to normal, and depending on what you do, you could be just seconds away before losing all your health. The controls for this game are really good. And to be honest, I think Jak Daxter has, if not, one of the tightest controls I've ever come across in a 3D platformer. And that is saying a lot, since I have played quite a lot of them. I have full control of Jak, and if I somehow messed up, I know from my point of view that it was my fault and not the game's design. Jak as a character is a silent protagonist. Kinda like Crash Bandicoot in a way. It would have been nice to have a voice actor of Jak in this game, just to show what kind of person he is instead of being the dull and average hero in video games who doesn't talk. Thankfully, we do witness his speaking role in the next game, Jak 2. But Daxter, on the other hand, is a loudmouth character that usually likes to brag about himself. And there are at times where Daxter just keeps talking and doesn't shut the hell up. And to top it all off, when you die, Daxter sometimes likes to get in your face and starts blabbering about random stuff. Overall, he can be a little bit annoying, but to be honest, without Daxter, this game would get pretty boring. Also, he has this creepy smile, and that image has stayed with me in my dreams, and I just cannot get to sleep without thinking about it. While I'm at it with comparing this game to Crash Bandicoot, there are a few times this game does reference Crash. From the flower enemy at the bottom of Samos's hut, to running away from a boulder in the Snow Mountains. But of course, we're not here to talk about Crash Bandicoot at all. Although I can't make any promises though. The game also teases the relationship between Jak and Kira, but it never reaches its climax at the end. It's mentioned every now and then, but it comes off as just friends mucking around, which I'm guessing was not what Naughty Dog was going for. There are 2 vehicle segments that shows up every now and then in levels, but at the same time they don't overstay their welcome. You have your zoomer as mentioned earlier, and the zoomer can get you past lavas to progress into the game. You can also drive around the lake in Misty Island, and there's even a level dedicated to the zoomer. And the second one is the Flut, a bird-like creature that you can use once after pushing the egg off the hill to make it hatch. Flut can do a charge attack and features an incredible jumping height, making him reach further gaps more easily. Overall, they control pretty well, and they especially help you out with 100%ing the game. There are plenty of items to collect. The main items are power cells. You can get them by completing objectives in a level. Whenever it's chasing some seagulls, finishing some tough platforming stages, or connecting the beams together, there's always something to do to collect a power cell. Also, when you collect a power cell, you have the iconic sound and the small celebration of obtaining the power cell, signaling a job well done. However, you don't have to collect all the power cells at once, as you only need enough to continue on. Just a side note, that part where you have to collect fish for the fishermen is extremely brutal. Here I am doing just fine, and then all of a sudden all the fishes move faster than Usain Bolt trying to beat his own world record for a 100-meter sprint. You also have scout flies as well, hidden in a red box. There are 7 in each level, and once you have freed all 7 scout flies, you'll earn a power cell. Your money for this game is Precursor orbs, a small egg-shaped item scattered throughout the entire game. If you collect just enough, you can trade some of those orbs in for a power cell to some strangers and to Dr. Claw that shows up in hub worlds. You will meet up with some strangers with different tasks to give you in exchange for a power cell, and I gotta say, most of the strangers you will meet have some pretty good personality. Each character you will meet are different and quite unique in a good way. There's a person who wants to find his muse, a girl with a British accent, a guy in the swamps that doesn't know what a bathtub is, and a whole lot more. You know, Jack, there's a lot more important things to do than staring at someone's bottom. During the game, you will come across 4 different types of eco you can use. Green eco will increase your health bar as mentioned earlier, blue eco will make you turn on precursor technology, run more faster and pulls precursor orbs towards you when you're close. Red eco will allow you to throw fireballs, and red eco, while only seen for a couple of times, it can increase your damage attack. I kind of find the red eco a bit useless, as I feel at times I could certainly do that section without having to use red eco at all. The soundtrack in the Precursor Legacy sounds really nice. While I don't think it's really that memorable to me, maybe because I didn't play this game at all as a kid, but still, it sounds pretty pleasant. I only mentioned a couple of small issues I have about this game, and I'll just get some of the other ones out of the way. This game is pretty easy, which does sound weird because the difficulty is the complete opposite of Crash 1. Wow, I just realized I can't go through a single video without mentioning Crash Bandicoot. But anyway, while Crash 1 may seem harsh in terms of difficulty, Jak and Daxter requires little to no challenge. The only tough part about this game is probably trying to 100% this game by collecting everything, but most of the items can be spotted in plain sight. And sure, you'll end up dying every now and then, but there's no game overs and the game doesn't spawn you right back to the beginning of the level, so you'll be just fine. So yeah, other than that, this game is pretty much a cakewalk, and it does feel like a short experience as I did complete this game in under 4 hours, but I'm not sure if that's because of my skill levels or just my age. Another issue I have is that you can't skip the cutscenes. Sounds pretty minor, but one would imagine that someone out there has played this game for a very long time and has to endure the unskippable cutscenes over and over again. If it was me in that person's shoes, I would probably get tired of seeing the same thing all over again. Remember early in the story that Jak and Daxter has to find Gol Aknaron to change Daxter back to his human form? Well, as it turns out, Gol Aknaron just so happens to be the mysterious villain from the beginning, along with his sister Maya. They were the ones that captured the other sages, which explains why the portals have not been working. Their reason for the kidnapping is to harness the power to extract the dark eco powers and change the world as they see fit. And now, the story plot has now developed into something more heroic. Later on, if you make it to the final stage, the Citadel, well, unlike me because I end up dying in the last second, you come to find out that Samos has been kidnapped as well, and it's up to Jak and Daxter to save them. The last section is no laughing matter. It's just you and everything that you've learned along your journey against some tough platforming phases. So we save the sages and we make our way to the final boss, which looks very terrifying in the far distance. Seriously, do I have to face that? While I'm at it, there's only 3 bosses in the entire game, and yeah, they're pretty easy. Even Gol and Maya's boss isn't that much of a challenge. Once you've learned the patterns of each boss, it's pretty much an easy encounter for all of them. During the final boss, we come across Light Eco that can defeat Gol and Maya, but Light Eco could also change Daxter back to his original self. After some tough thinking, he decides that saving the world is more important. And indeed they do manage to save the world from destruction. Now, for a guy that started playing this game a couple of years ago, there is a lot of cool things about this game. But the one reason why I always come back to this game more than anything is the level designs. The The designs of each level are amazing. I have briefly talked about the levels earlier with having no loading times, but I wanted to save some of my thoughts about them towards the end. It's bright and cheerful and enjoyable to explore around. You can visit the beach, swamps, an ancient underground city, caves, snows, and a lot more. But what really makes these levels so great is its journey. On the top of the mountain in the snow area, if you look just close enough, you can see almost everything, even some of the parts when you visited earlier in the game. And really, it just goes to show that in video games, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. The journey of two friends going on an adventure to coming across a dangerous threat and eventually becoming well-known heroes. If you're looking to platinum this game, then you'll have no issues. I think once the game has been 100%ed, you will get yourself a platinum trophy. Speaking of 100%ing, if you manage to collect all 100 power cells, you'll unlock a secret ending that ties into Jak 2. But that's a story for another day. So what have we learned from this discussion? We've learned that even though Naughty Dog's greatest creation, Crash Bandicoot, is no longer in their hands, they can still come up with fresh and brand new ideas moving forward. While very easy and short in game time length, this is honest to God one of the most satisfying PlayStation 2 games I've ever played. Not only that, but it's also one of the most satisfying games to complete. The platforming is fun, the controls are extremely tight, the level designs are amazing to look at, and really, just the small details and the Precursor legacy offers does bring everything together. I have managed to play the Jak and Daxter trilogy in my adulthood, and the first game in my opinion is my favorite one to play. Which is kinda saying a lot, because the second installment is universally known as the best Jak and Daxter game. But when you break it down, it's all about the replay value, and this game certainly has that. It is a must recommendation for me that you should definitely pick this game up and add it to your collection. Regardless if it's the PlayStation 2 version, or the PS3, or even the PS4, you should at least try this fun game out that was way ahead of its time. And that was my thoughts on Jak and Daxter the Precursor Legacy. It's unknown if I'll come back to look at Jak 2, but I guess time will tell. So what do you think about this game? Feel free to comment down below on your thoughts and opinions about this game, and until then, thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, make sure to leave a like, share the video, and subscribe today. I'm Justin from That PlayStation Nerd, telling you to keep calm, and keep playing video games.